The man, the myth, the legend, former NFL quarterback, current all-around great guy, wrapped up his show, 4 hours. He works an hour more than I do, 6 minutes ago, and now he's into his second job, which is being the best damn sports guest in the country. The one, the only, Sean Salisbury. Good morning, buddy.
Good morning.
You ever get tired?
Yeah, good morning. By the way, I hope you guys had a great weekend. I'm also in New Orleans visiting my son. It's his 29th birthday tonight.
Hey.
So it's great to be with him. He's a chef out here. You know what? Yeah, I do, but I what did Jesse Ventura say in Predator? I ain't got time to bleed, dude. I don't have time to be. I got stuff to do. So, yes, I do. Sometimes, I'm not a nap guy either, but there'll be sometimes when you're going about 6 straight weeks, you'll say, today I need about an hour of power in the middle of the afternoon, but I just try, honestly, and it's not, I don't wear it as a badge of honor. I come from a family that's not been a big sleeper family, but I know how it's important health-wise. But if I get 5.5 hours of uninterrupted sleep a night where I can sleep through, I don't need, once I get past the 6-hour threshold, I'm actually more sluggish. So I just have I was thinking, honestly, it's so funny you asked that. I was thinking about this conversation yesterday and the day before. I don't even remember when I was in high school, my dad, I don't ever remember sleeping in on Saturdays. Or so I was either getting up and going playing sports, or my old man used to say, come on, boy, you're wasting your day away. Get up. I don't remember now. College, after a Thursday night bender, there's no football season. It's spring, and spring practice is over. Sleep until noon and waking up with the fellas and going getting lunch on a Friday in the spring or headed to the beach. But I don't ever remember being a big sleeper. I never have. So there's your answer. So I get tired, but I just fight through it, brother. That's my MO.
Rank for me, if you would, and maybe I'm missing one that you want to throw in there, but if I were to tell you the MVP race right now is a three-headed monster that consisted of, in no particular order, Aaron Rodgers, Josh Allen, and Russell Wilson. A, am I forgetting something? And B, how would you rank those three this year?
You're not forgetting. There's nobody even in the conversation. It's those three, and then I'm sure Mahomes and Lamar will rear there. We're going to see somebody emerge, I'm sure, tonight in the Monday night game. But those two aren't in the conversation right now either. Judging from the starts this year, they're all three doing something unique. Rodgers is playing at a level. I've always felt that he and Marino were the best pure throwers I ever saw. Rodgers is throwing the ball and doing things, even right now, that you're like, dude, he's not supposed to continue. And he's liking the system. That's one. Russ will throw 50 touchdowns this year if this keeps up. They've decided that, we're not going to make you win it just late. We're just going to give you the ball the whole time. Just be the guy. And Josh Allen, by far the most improved player in the league, who has it's not just the guy who's getting them by, he's winning them games with the way he's playing with his arm and his feet. It's phenomenal to watch. I would probably go in this order. I would probably go Russ first. Now, some think the Packers are better than Seattle. That's going to be one hell of a run in the NFC. I'd go Russ first, and I'd probably take Rodgers second and Allen third. But if somebody comes and sells me and I've watched all three of them play this year a lot and seen their throws. You could sell me on Allen being the MVP because we had less expectations of him than Russ and Aaron. But we also look at Aaron and say, well, is he pissed about the offseason? Well, probably, and if he is, he's making players pay, and he's beating some good teams. And then Russ is just doing everything. So my vote, I picked him at the beginning of the year, was Russ Wilson. He hasn't done anything for me to say no, but I can make the case for both Rodgers and Allen. But it's a 3-horse race, and it is early. I get it. We always do this. We love lists early, and I do it on my show. It's those three. The rest are in a chase. And if they continue to play like this, it is going to be one hell of a matchup. I assume by the time the season's over that all three of those guys will still be playing well, because I've seen enough evidence this year to tell me that their confidence in their teams are all through the roof right now, and all three are going to win their division. Now the question is the numbers. We like gaudy stats, and they're all putting them up. But I'd go Wilson, Rodgers, Allen, but Allen's the most improved, and he is right now the best quarterback in the AFC with the way he's playing. We know who the best is, but the way he's playing this year, Allen's posted the best score at Augusta so far.
Well, and sticking with Josh Allen, a guy from tiny little Firebaugh, California, great story. He just wanted to go to Fresno State, and they wouldn't offer him a scholarship, and he begged them. and it was between, I want to say, I forget the other school, but Wyoming and one other place, and he worked his way through, finally ended up at Wyoming, which was not where he wanted to be, made the best of it, kicked ass at little tiny Wyoming playing for the Cowboys, and then was, the fourth quarterback chosen, I believe, in that draft, and right now looks like the best. It's not just that he's doing so well, Sean, but as a guy who not only played quarterback in the NFL, but a guy that trains young quarterbacks, that understands the position as well or better than anyone else we talk to. What are you seeing in Josh, and just how damn impressive is this road he took?
I really love it, and I'll tell you what, a big thing is not to believe what everybody's telling you. When he came out, the first, he's not accurate enough. We all get caught up in it because you're saying, well, if you're a 59% thrower or whatever you are in college, how are you going to be that in the NFL? Well, how you fix it is you work. He's being so well coached. His off-season coach with Jordan Palmer, and his coaches on staff, and his head coach, and Brian Dable is putting him in position to be successful. And smart coaches, I've never understood this. Why every coach doesn't do it? Why not look at the strength of your player? And so it'd be like me telling Steph Curry not to shoot threes, right? Why not put a guy in position to accentuate what they do? And we want to accentuate your strengths and keep you out of weaknesses. I see too often, or if you're doing something well, keep going back to it. Why stop running the ball if you're dominating the line of scrimmage? Why stop throwing it if your quarterback is feeling it? He's being well taught. He didn't buy into what everybody told him, that you're not allowed to be an accurate passer because we've told you, we saw you in college playing at Wyoming and he's also prepared for bad weather too, because of college gave him and Wyoming ain't exactly hot, and Buffalo, and what a great football town, and he's grasped it and he jumped on it. They haven't anything like this since Jim Kelly. So, and he's a big physical kid who can run, but he's putting work in. His mechanics have gotten better under pressure, where he's not trying to make every hero throw. When he first came in, every single thing he did was a 100-mile-an-hour fastball. And eventually, if you throw a 100-mile-an-hour fastball to the plate, Mike Trout's going to hit it 450 feet if it doesn't move. Well, you've got to layer throws and do things. And now he's starting to understand, well, I don't have to. Everything's not a guy 5 yards from me doesn't have to be hit with a 100-mile-an-hour fastball because it's hard to control that. He's layering the football. His mechanics are better. And it looks to me like he thinks he's a good player. It does, that he, not on the surface, but that his substance says, I'm a really good player. And I love what I'm seeing with him. And while it's still just a small body of work, his improvement from last year to this year and from the first year to this year is nothing short. He's going one way and Carson Wentz is going the other, speaking of small school guys. But I'm really impressed because I like guys who don't buy into what we're telling him he's supposed to be and is buying into the coaching staff. And he's really good. He's well coached. And his physical skills were never in question. And now he's doing all the other things, and he looks like the offense fits him perfect.
Sean Salisbury joining us this morning. Sean, I want to take you back to your playing days, and I want to put you in the Atlanta Falcons locker room. After blowing back-to-back leads in the fourth quarter, double-digit leads, how are you as a player interpreting Dan Quinn's messaging from here on out going forward?
Well, listen, there's certain points I do not like. I guess maybe I'm overly compassionate. I hate seeing people lose their job, right? I think we all do. But there also comes a point that getting into this as a quarterback, if I don't perform, you get cut, or we don't get a new contract. As a defensive end, if you can't ever pressure the passer, and we've decided to draft you as a pressure guy, we got to get rid of you. There's got to be accountability for Dan Quinn. Listen, Dan Quinn didn't miss one tackle yesterday. But it's obvious that in their classrooms and what they're teaching and their DNA of closing games, they haven't gotten over it since the Super Bowl. Whether it's just Dan, whether it's Matt Ryan only playing. I mean, now he'll put up huge numbers, but is it cosmetic? Where's the substance of this team? So I think it's both. I don't think they're ever going to be able to get over what went on with Dan Quinn. They're going to have to cut bait. It's time now. Whether you do it. Interim coaches never hang on and keep the job. They'll make another change at the end of the year. I just don't see how they can respond. In all my years, have never seen a team playing. I've never been on one. We've lost and been beat. I've never watched, been on, or seen a team be so putrid when they have a double-digit lead. I've never seen a team. It's almost as if that they just quit playing. Now, I don't know, and part that falls on the coach. He's ultimately the leader. The message is, around, it's not only Dan looking at his players saying, I got a bunch of guys that don't know how to close. It's also the players looking at him and the staff saying, we just don't know how to do this. For whatever reason, their DNA says we choke leads away. And that's all. It's a Johnny Miller. Johnny Miller would be perfect to break him down, because he would say, oh, that loss at that major when they missed a 4-foot putt, 28-3 lead against the Patriots. Now they got the yips. These guys do not know how to win a 60-minute game. When's the last time you saw them put their foot on somebody? So now they're going to look pretty offensively sometime. They're going to put up gaudy numbers. And guess what? Those gaudy numbers get you an apple and a road map and a trip out of town. They have to cut bait. Dan, while a great defensive coordinator, it just hasn't caught on consistently as a head coach. And I can't say they're quitting on him. I don't know. But I know whatever they're teaching and whatever substance or DNA those players have in them, it ain't a closing DNA. If we played 30-minute games, the Atlanta Falcons would be great. We don't play 30-minute football in the NFL. That whole thing, they need a whole cleansing of that football franchise, because right now, and I'm going to tell you, as good as Matt Ryan is, if they went on and had the first pick, I'd draft Trevor Lawrence still. Because as good as Matt, and he's going to be Hall of Fame numbers, there comes a point in time when age and the rest of it sets in, you need a whole change. And they're probably not going to, because the Jets and Giants are worse. But the DNA of that football team and their closing DNA is the worst in the NFL. Now, I don't know if they're the worst team, but it's almost laughable how bad they are. And I actually feel bad for them, because that can't be fun to go into the meeting today. But I don't know. They're obviously not buying what Dan's selling anymore. But if I'm Dan, I'm not buying what my team's putting on the field either when it comes to fourth quarter, or my assistant coaches. Because remember, let's not forget about them. They're the ones in the meeting room coaching the players every day. That whole setup is they're hell for 30 minutes, but we don't play 30 minutes in the NFL.
Sean Salisbury with us, and I want to bring it back to your neck of the woods. We were having a conversation today between Dan Quinn, Adam Gase, and Bill O'Brien. Who deserves to go first? Who will go first? Now, I want to focus real quick on Bill O'Brien. Listen, there's no doubt the Houston Texans have had a tough schedule start to the year, at Chiefs, Ravens, at Steelers. Okay, putting that aside, the fact that Bill was already under fire for his moves as a GM, his moves as a coach. They play the 0-3 Vikings next week. They follow that with the Jaguars. In your opinion, if he loses one or both of those, does he survive it? And I want to go a bit deeper, because you're closer. Bob McNair died in 2018. So you have Janice McNair and Jamie Roots and others that are kind of at the head of that snake there. Is there a leadership issue above Bill O'Brien precluding them from making the move on him? What is the real story?
Well, they lost 24-3 lead in the playoffs against the eventual Super Bowl champion.
Yeah.
They lost the lead, and they gave him not only did they gave him more power.
Yeah.
So you tell me. Cal McNair, see, I don't believe, I'm going to say this, and I'm saying it out loud. While he may not be the safest nationally to you guys, I'm just telling you now that there's not three coaches in the NFL that have more power within their organization than Bill O'Brien does here.
Sure.
And you say, how? Think about it. Okay, Belichick, Andy Reid, maybe Mike Tomlin and Pete Carroll. Now Sean McVay's getting it, but Bill O'Brien's got more power than those guys, because he is the GM. He walked up there into that office and said, I want to be the GM too. And they gave him a new contract after he's never been to the conference championship ever as a head coach. Now, if you're okay with just getting to the playoffs, fine. You got a great quarterback, and he's always going to keep you in games. He gives you a chance every week. Let's talk about substance problems. We've been discussing the 4 hours of what the hell. So if they go 1-4, all the whispers will start. He's not getting fired this year, Dave. It ain't going to happen. Now, Adam Gase is poor Sam Darnold. He'll go somewhere else and he'll actually be good. That is the worst coach team in the NFL. The worst DNA at closing is in Atlanta. Now, as far as way too much power of, hey, I can puff my chest out. You can't do squat to me. For a team that's not winning championships is the dude here in Bill O'Brien. Too much power, which also affects his ability to do everything well. If you're not going to be the master of a trade, well, I sure as hell can't. You better be the jack of all of them, and there's the jack of all trades. And he's somewhere where he can't quite find what he wants to do. So, and then he finally gave up the play calling, but it's the same team because it's his offense. Think about this. Cancel out the quarterbacks he's played, Deshaun, Ben Roethlisberger, Lamar Jackson, Pat Mahomes. If we say all four of those guys played great football, so you cancel out. This team can't win if Deshaun Watson doesn't dress in a phone booth every week. And even if he does, you may run into Pat Mahomes, who dresses in a phone booth too. Look at the numbers. They have not dominated. You'll look at a unit in a game like the defensive line or an offensive line that dominates that unit and says, okay, we didn't play well at this position, but we were good enough to run the football and we win. You go through the 3 games and look at the numbers. They have not won the grouping in any of the 3 games. Their run defense has not won yet. Their pass protection, their run offense, their secondary, their wide receiver crew, none of it. And then they traded Hopkins, who's got 32 catches, and the overall catches for the big 3 have like 34 catches in Houston. So they're not dominating any unit. So if Watson doesn't play well, take him out of the rotation. This is a 2-14, 3-13 team. Then you may see it at the end of the year. But right now, they start up because they'll win 2 or 3 or 4 games in a row because Watson's good enough to do it. But they're not going. They're no threat in the playoffs if they get there. But they're not making it at 0-3 because they haven't been competitive for the most part. And the last thing Bill's worried about right now is if his job's in jeopardy if they're 1-4. I can tell you now, unless Cal pulls a fast one, but he doesn't go up there and ask Cal McNair what he should do. He tells him what he's doing. That's the difference.
Sean Salisbury with us. Final question, again, just grading quarterbacks. What the hell is going on with Carson Wentz? How much of it is his fault? And in your opinion, is it fixable?
I think it is, but every day that this happens, no matter how confident you are, and guys, as we know, you ain't exactly playing in a town that you can go hide, that they get you, right? Philadelphia is a smart sports town, passionate, and can be harsh when you're struggling. And I'm going to tell you guys this. When Nick Foles was there doing what he was doing as a backup, do you know there were some that didn't want Carson? They wanted Foles instead of Wentz. Yep. There were some. Now, listen, I've watched up until this year, and I've seen his games. I've watched every throw Wentz has made as a full-time starter in Philly. The guy's got enormous ability, but his mechanics have gone to hell in a handbasket this year. Last week, clean pocket, missing throws that he'd normally make, that you're saying, what's going on? But it's always some offensive line. With Doug Peterson's missing some things right now. The DBs last year, wide receiving core, offensive line. But it gets to a point where we can't keep saying that because what do we always expect our quarterback to do, guys? Elevate the play around him, right?
Yep.
And Wentz is having trouble. He's got to get back to some basics and mechanics because and they paid him a lot. They have to have him successful because you can't leave your glove on the mound for too long because the guy behind you, even though he's not the same player, Kurtz won a lot in college. And you'll start to hear the whispers if this continues, well, it's time to make a move. They don't want to make a move away from their $100 million quarterback. But Carson Wentz has got to get the confidence and mechanics back because, it's fixable, but he's getting to the point now where he's got to have players around him because he can't do the things Russ and those guys are doing. And the beatdown will start to get you to a point where we'll have hot take artists start to tell you that if you don't wear your hat turned around one way, that you're not going to be a franchise quarterback. That's what it's getting to. Carson Wentz needs to play better football. The excuses are out the window, and he's got to stay healthy doing it.
At Sean Unfiltered on Twitter, and he is extremely interactive. You can listen to his show right along and before our show each and every morning out there in Houston, and I'm sure he's got about another 7 appearances today. Sean, I remember when you and I first started doing radio together, we were talking about your son celebrating his 21st birthday. My daughter turns 13 a week from today. I want to thank you for reinforcing how old I am and how much you and I need to work on a vaccine, not just for COVID, but also to help keep children the same age until we decide.
Yes, and mine's 29, and he's 29, and he's like 6, 7.5, and reminds me of it every day that he can put his elbow on the top of my head. So I'm getting to the point. Yes, I'm almost at the time I retired playing football, like at 32.
Oh my God,
my son's almost 30. So yeah, I don't even want to talk about it because I still act like I'm 25. Right. So there we go, brother.
See you, my friend. Love you. Take
care. All right, thanks. Appreciate it. Love you guys too.
All right,
thanks.
Bye. That's it. Sean Salisbury.